It has been a long day today. Today was my day off, and I originally planned to watch a movie. A movie I was going to discuss here, probably next time. You know, a movie that takes place before Peacemaker. A certain Boy Scout movie. But all of my plans for today, everything I wanted to do today was ruined. I couldn't do any of it. This morning, I got a call from the place I got a job interview not long ago. And they asked me if I could go in tomorrow for a second interview, a follow-up interview. Normally, that's a good thing. However, this job is so far away. So instead of doing what I planned to do today, today I learned how to get to the job myself. Last time my dad drove me because it is quite far away. But this time I learned how to get there myself. Not by driving, because let's say hypothetically I were to get the job, driving there isn't really an option, especially during winter time, and especially during unpredictable traffic jams during the highway or at the highway. Even simply taking the highway, driving there last time for the first interview, that alone took over an hour. And that was no traffic, no snow on the ground, perfect weather. That took over an hour. So imagine during winter, when there's snow, when there's a blizzard, or there's a car accident on the highway, and that makes everything backed up. So, if I were to get the job, I would need to travel to there via subway, because that's the most efficient and fastest method. So that's what I did. Today, I went out and I learned the subway route to get there. What I had to do was I had to drive to this location, park my car there so I can walk over to the subway station, and then I had to take 2 subways to get there. I had to take the highway to get to this first location, park my car there, and then take the subway, change lines 1 time, and that entire process, no anything, no traffic jams, no weather problems, nothing. That process alone took nearly an hour and a half. I gotta tell you, I don't really want this job. The job is fantastic, pay-wise, but if I were to get the job, I would need to be there by 10 a.m. So bare minimum, if the whole process, no disturbances, takes an hour and a half, I would need to leave the house at like 8 in the morning just to account for any possible hurdle. So if I were to get this job, I would need to wake up at like 6 a.m., be out of the door by 8 a.m., and then I would need to work, I don't know, the shifts possibly go from like 10 to 9, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fuck my life, man. The hell with my life. I haven't wanted to continue living on this planet for a very long time now. Can I just be in the ground yet? Can my life just be a 20-year burden on this world and just let me go now? And I know people have it way worse than me. People have work schedules way harder than the one I just said. But like, god damn. That doesn't mean I should be grateful for what I for what I could have, that work schedule. Doesn't mean I should be happy with it. Obviously, if this job was closer, that'd be great. That'd be ideal, but it's just because it's so far away. Fuck my life, man. And, it wasn't enough to simply just take the subways, be like, alright, I know where the subway location is, I know which track I gotta get on and off. Good, I know how to get there, let's go home. Nah, just to be thorough, and good thing I was, just to be thorough, I had to ride the subway all the way there just to make sure I know where to go. Because when I actually arrived there, I actually overshot by like 2 stops. So I had to get off the subway and then I had to walk the remaining distance. So, good to know. Now I know not to go all the way to that stop. Now I know to stop at like 2 prior. And then, when it was time to go home, I took the wrong subway back. Like, I took one of the 2 subways to where I was supposed to go, and then I took the wrong one. So I had to get off and get on another one to account for the distance. And then on my way home, of course there was traffic on the highway, since it was that hour where people get off work and they're all clamoring to go home. So, yep, the hell with my life. I don't want this job. The only thing... The best benefit to this job would be the pay. Aside from that, this job really isn't worth it. It also didn't help that on my way back, in my arms was a Happy Meal box. So I had a Happy Meal box in my hands the entire time going back home on the subway. The reason I had that is because right now in McDonald's, there's this BTS collab going on. There are BTS toys in the McDonald's Happy Meals. My sister, being the BTS simp that she is, of course she wants them. So she wanted me to go and get one to see which toy was in there. And because I didn't have a bag, well, I just carried the Happy Meal box with the toys inside. I was actually given a second toy. I ordered a Happy Meal with the current BTS themed toy, but then the McDonald's, they gave me the wrong toy. They gave me a not BTS themed one. They gave me a regular one. It was a golden Happy Meal toy. So the lady realized the mix-up and she's just like, oh, you wanted one of the modern toys, right? I was about to hand back the toy that was a mistake, but then she just said, oh, you could just keep it. We're technically not allowed to touch it again. What? Alright, so I got 2 toys for 1. And like I said, because I didn't have a bag, I just kept both toys inside the Happy Meal box, and I was holding that box on both subways all the way back home. Just a dude on the subway holding a BTS McDonald's Happy Meal box. And then when I came home, I took a fat nap. It's a good thing my interview tomorrow is at 3 p.m. because that means I can sleep in tomorrow. I'm also drinking a bubble tea right now, which, that'll add to the caffeine, add to my inability to sleep tonight, but whatever. During the Nintendo Direct for the Mario Galaxy segment, they also announced that the Rosalina storybook will be an actual purchasable item. Now, you're damn right I want it. I see here on the Nintendo Store, Canadian dollar, it costs $33.99. So $34. That's an expensive book, I tell ya. I think the most expensive book I ever purchased was like some book from a bookstore during high school that I was going to read for English class. But I never did because that book was long as hell. So I changed my mind. Spent like $20 on that book. I never touched it again. I purchased it and I don't know where it's at. I never read it. I'm actually kind of surprised I even got the phone call for a second interview. I kind of thought my interview was one of my weaker ones. This is one of the few times I'm actually crossing my fingers and hoping I do not get a third call back. Like, you're hired. It's like, shit. I'm hired. Aw, shit. Alright, well, let's talk about these shows. We have 3 to discuss. Up first, because I couldn't watch it for last time, Daryl Dixon, Season 3, Episode 2. Arcane, the Season 2 finale. And to my surprise, I didn't know this, the series finale. Arcane is only getting 2 seasons. There is not going to be a 3rd season. I didn't know that. So the series finale to Arcane, as well as, I guess, the series finale to Eyes of Wakanda as well, the 4th episode. Now, I'm going to look up the plot summary for Daryl Dixon, because there's going to be a lot of names I'm going to mess up here. Okay, so Daryl Dixon. One thing I forgot to mention about the first episode, the one with Julian in it, is that one fun little lore bit that Julian mentioned. He mentioned that if you go to the Royal Palace, you can actually see the Queen still wandering around. Pretty good, he even said pretty good looking for a squid. This whole squid thing about the first episode in the season. Now, that's actually pretty interesting to think about. In the Walking Dead world, Queen Elizabeth, first of all, perished. And second of all, is still a walker, roaming around in the palace. Or the castle. Whatever the place is called, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's actually pretty interesting to think about. It would have been cool to see that, but maybe that would have been too much. So not only is or was Julian the last human being, the last living person in all of London, now we know. Now that Julian's gone, there is no more living people in London. It's kind of sad to think. But yeah. So the Queen passed away and is a walker roaming around. It's kind of crazy to think. We all know that Queen Elizabeth II, she is the second, right? We know that she passed away, I think, in the year 2020. So it's been 5 years since she's passed. Yeah, she is the second. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Oh no, 2022, so she passed away 3 years ago. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth II, she passed away in 2022, but in the Walking Dead universe, she passed away who knows how much sooner than that. She could have died right at the beginning of the outbreak, she could have died a year or two into the outbreak. But it's kind of crazy to think that she is a walker. And I'm sure Julian wasn't lying when he said he went to the royal house and actually saw the Queen's reanimated corpse. I mean, if you're the last living person in your entire nation, but you know what I'm trying to say. If you're the last living person in your entire area, you would want to explore around, because what else are you going to do in life besides just simply survive? Hell, he even said that he taught himself how to operate the Big Ben. So I don't blame him. I don't think he's lying when he said he went to the royal house to explore around and saw the Queen there. But yeah, that's fun to think. In the Walking Dead universe, Queen Elizabeth II is a walker and still roaming around. Maybe in a closed bedroom somewhere, but still her body is out there roaming. Or maybe dormant. We've seen what happened when walkers have no stimulation for a long time and then they lie dormant. Oh yeah, yesterday in Pokemon Go, I got 2 hundos. I got a hundo cast form, and then I got a hundo Nidoqueen, a fully evolved Nidoqueen. I got 2 in one day yesterday. And of course, the moment I got each of those hundos, I snatched my sister's phone so that I could get the hundo on her phone as well. The game on my phone is kind of like a sacrificial lamb. I catch Pokemon on my game, and if it turns out to be a hundo, then I catch it on her game. The thing is, though, I never know what's a hundo. Obviously. So, you know me, I prefer to catch everything important in a regular Pokeball. That's not always going to be the case in Pokemon Go, especially the raids. You only catch in Premier Balls and raids. But, you know, shinies in the wild, I catch with regular Pokeballs. I would like to catch my 100 IVs and 0 IVs in regular Pokeballs as well, but that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes a Hundo or a Nundo will have really high CP, and I'll use an Ultra Ball. And that's exactly the case here. I caught the Nidoqueen on my game in an Ultra Ball, saw it was a Hundo, so then I snatched my sister's phone and I caught it in her game in a regular Pokeball. Holy shit, I see Purple Cliff's video, Last to Leave Sinnoh Wins, is 4 hours long. Anyways, let's talk about Daryl Dixon. Let me put on some music first. What song should I play? What's the difference here? Oop, stupid ads. Because I see here Rosalina in the Observatory 3 and 2. Does this music bring back memories for anyone? Okay, so Daryl Dixon, Season 3, Episode 2. La Ofrenada, or La Ofrenda. Jesus Christ. If you thought I butchered a lot of stuff in the last 2 seasons when it was all French, it's even worse in Spanish. Ooh, I see Daryl Dixon is gonna have 7 episodes. Well, that's something at least. Okay, so last episode ended off with Carol wandering around after hearing some laughter, and then Daryl returns to find Carol missing. This episode opens with Carol finding and just observing a young couple, Roberto and Justina. Daryl finds Carol, and then they watch the couple together. It's just seeing them in love, have fun together in this world. However, Daryl notices that they have quite a lot of stuff with them. So Daryl actually is getting ready to raid the two. I would say this is out of character for Daryl, but you know, Daryl, his priorities right now are surviving. They're in a foreign land. Daryl just encountered what looks like hostile people. They need supplies to not only stay alive, but potentially fix the boat as well. So Daryl was about to raid these two for their supplies. However, these two, Roberto and Justina, get attacked themselves. Or not really attacked, but get raided. This group of bad-looking people, they notice... or they show up and notice that the two of them, all their supplies, are just sitting there, but no people. Roberto and Justina, they're hiding. But eventually the bandits, they find them. And pretty stupid move by Roberto. He tries to grab a knife and swings. Clearly that wasn't gonna work. So they're about to be killed, but Daryl swoops in with his crossbow and helps out. He kills most of the bandits, but one escapes. Daryl tries to shoot at him with the gun he picks up, but that one guy escapes. So Carol and Darrow talk to Roberto and Justina. Thankfully, everyone in this universe knows English. How lucky for them. God forbid Daryl and Carol ever wind up in Japan, because when I went to Japan, not a soul there knew how to speak English. So if Daryl and Carol somehow wound up in Japan, they're screwed. Excuse me. Lucky for them, France and Spain has people who know English, so lucky for them. There was a lot of subtitles in this episode. There was a lot of Spanish being spoken in this episode, which actually makes sense. As much as it is an inconvenience for us, the audience, to have to read the subtitles rather than just hear English and understand it, it does make more sense. That was kind of something in the first 2 seasons. How little people spoke French in the first 2 seasons, but instead they spoke a lot more English. Jesus, excuse me. Well, Daryl is asking them for help. Can you get us help? Can you point us in a place where we can stay to get her help? Justina wants to help them, but then Roberto's like, no, we can't. But then Daryl, holding a gun, points the gun to Roberto. Is like, I'm not gonna let my friend die out here. You said you came from somewhere? Take us there. But Roberto and Justina don't want to go back. In fact, they escaped from there. So the 4 of them, they go back to where these 2 came from, which is a small little settlement, a little community that looks to be thriving too. So we meet this character Paz, who seems like she's the sheriff of the place. Her importance in the episode is minimal, though I'm sure she'll be a bigger character later on. That is, if she doesn't get killed off right away, or by the end of the season. We know how these spin-offs work. So they go to this community, Solaz de Mar, if I said that right. And it's run by, I think, Justina's uncle. He's the quote-unquote mayor of the place. So Justina's grandmother, well, she patches up Carol, but she has pretty high fever, so she needs to stay here for a while. However, the community does not take in outsiders, does not take in strangers. But Justina pleads to them, like, they saved us out there, and the lady is ill, please let her stay so that she can recover. Roberto's father offers them shelter at his place for 2 days. Well, he just offers them shelter, and then it was... Oh, I didn't even say the mayor's name. The mayor who was Roberto's... No, the mayor who was Justina's uncle, I think his name was like... Oh shit, what was his name? Fernandez? I forget, something like that. It was him that said 2 days. So they stay there. Daryl actually questions Roberto, why would you want to leave this place? It's great. You got shelter, food, good people. But we'll learn soon enough why the 2 of them tried to flee this place. Daryl is only concerned about Carol getting better and then finding tools to fix his boat. So, the next day, I think, it's revealed why Roberto and Justina want to leave this place. So, once a year, another group comes into the community. I see here on Wikipedia it's Guillermo Torres, who is supposedly the last of the Spanish monarchy. So he is supposedly the last of the royal family in Spain. And he has this system that he kind of imposes to the community. You give us one of your daughters, and we give you supplies. We give you food, medicine, weapons. In exchange, once a year, you offer us one of your daughters. And at the moment, it's not clear what happens to the ladies when they get chosen. They're claiming that they lead very luxurious lives. You know, the future of the world. These ladies will be the future of the world to, I guess, repopulate or whatever. But sometimes they just don't hear from the daughters ever again, because there's this case where one father is screaming, saying, 5 years has passed, what happened to my daughter? And then he is tortured publicly for his outburst. He's not killed. Well, actually, it's unclear what happened to him just yet. So that's why Roberto and Justina were trying to flee, because Justina got lucky to not be chosen and taken away all those times, but, you know, luck runs out. So Roberto doesn't want to risk that, losing his love. They want to flee together and possibly explore the world. Part of me wonders, why don't they just hide? Right? Like, why don't they just escape the one day that these guys come to take someone, and then just come back? Anyways, so there's this whole ceremony that goes on. All of the daughters of age get dressed up, and then their names get sewn onto this ribbon, and then the ribbon goes onto a bunch of pigs. So the way the daughters are chosen is a pig race. The pig who wins the race, whoever's name is written on that little ribbon the pig is wearing, that person has been quote-unquote chosen to be taken. You would think because this is a show, they would obviously have Justina be chosen. That's what I was thinking, actually. But no, it's this girl named Alba that we meet in this episode. So she got quote-unquote chosen by fate, and well, she's going to be taken. Oh yeah, also the last remaining member of the Spanish monarchy, El Alcazar. Yeah, I see here that's what his name is, I guess. He brought with him a woman as he came to visit, and supposedly this is the first time that's ever happened. It's actually one of the daughters chosen previously, and it's very clear that she has a romantic relationship with Paz. The two even share a scene together later on where they just talk. Alright. And it's also revealed that the one guy from earlier in the episode who Darrow tried to kill but got away, he is here as well. Alright, so now that a daughter has been chosen, it's time to celebrate. So they have this entire, like, ceremony, festival to do. It's kind of crazy to see, especially in the post-apocalyptic world. So they have a giant-ass dinner. They have almost like a parade float that they're meant to burn. They have dances in the middle of the square. It's pretty creative, pretty awesome to see. During the dinner, you know, that Daryl and Carol got invited to eat at, the people there, they naturally have questions. They ask, how did you end up in Spain? Daryl's just like, a boat? Carol's just like, a boat, but also a plane. They also naturally have questions about the outside world. Like, what news do you bring from outside? Daryl's just like, it pretty much sucks everywhere else. And then Carol breaks the news that there's no more living people in London. I guess that kind of reassures the people of Solaz de Mar that what they have here is safe and works. Like there's no hope out there. But then Carol, for some reason, opens her mouth, to the point Daryl tries his best to stop her, but proves futile. Carol's just like, it's beautiful here, but some of the traditions are questionable. Like, why do you give them one of your daughters when you know it could be wrong? Like, wouldn't you as a parent miss your child, especially if you never see them again? Something like that. And then Carol gets scolded by, I think it was Fernandez or Fernando. What was his name again? By the main dude in charge, his mother. Well, I can't see what this dude's character's name is. So, Daryl, he actually gets spotted by... he gets spotted by the one guy who escaped him. And then he and a bunch of others, they start chasing after him. So then Daryl, sneakily around, grabs weapons and takes them out one at a time. They even hover over this pit filled with walkers, and these idiots, for some reason, decided it was a good idea to stand there. And I guess after all these years, the people living here thought it was a good idea to not put any safeguards up, like simply railings. God forbid anyone just simply fell over the edge. They would fall into a walker pit. But whatever. Daryl, one by one, is able to take them all out because plot armor. You know, these are Spanish soldiers, it kind of looks like. Maybe not soldiers in the pre-world. But now, they've been hardened by the apocalypse, and these guys survived for all these years, over a decade, and they get taken out by just one dude. It's like, really? But of course, plot armor. At the same time, Daryl was kicking ass. Carol was being told about, like, how the world works over here. You know, one other complaint I have about these spin-offs is the level of gore. They haven't really been, very gory. You know, I think ever since... Actually, you even noticed it during the Walking Dead main show before that ended. Near the later half of the seasons, you don't really see a lot of really gory moments. People die, people get bitten, sure, but then it wasn't as gory as the initial first seasons. So, of course, the one guy that got away from Daryl at the beginning of the episode, he is literally hanging over the ledge over a pit of walkers. He pleads for help. He pleads for Daryl to save him and pull him up. But then Daryl, with his, what looked like a machete, slices his hand so that he would fall into the pit of walkers. And, well, it was nighttime, so we really couldn't have seen any gore anyways. But, yeah, that dude did fall into a pit of walkers and got eaten. And that's where the episode ends. Anything I missed in this episode? So, I'm gonna wonder, like, is the people of the community gonna notice a handful of people are missing? Like, surely this is a community that has been established for, let's say, a decade. We are pretty far into the apocalypse. I'm sure the people here, they've been, like the people that died, they were there for quite a while. I'm sure some people are gonna notice, hey, these guys are missing. Weren't they at the party last night? And I'm sure someone's gonna notice them in the pit of walkers. I'm sure they're gonna notice that maybe there's one extra walker in there. who dresses up kind of like that guy did. But you know, it's also setting up drama. Daryl and Carol were welcomed into a community, a foreign community, despite their rules established where they don't accept any outsiders because safety reasons. Daryl and Carol show up. Carol questions their ways, their methods, their traditions. And Daryl, well, he literally causes a couple of people to die. So these two, welcomed in, already are causing trouble. Setting up some drama. Some conflict. Let's see if they get found out. And then let's see if the community turns on them. You know, it is kind of crazy to think that this is the exact same show as the first 2 seasons. They're in a whole new setting with a whole different cast of characters. Like, everyone we knew from the first 2 seasons is either dead or left behind. Characters like Sylvia's dead. Characters like Isabel's dead. Madame Genet is dead. People left behind, we're never going to see Falou. It took me a second to remember his name. We're never going to see Falou again. We're never going to see Cadron again. Characters like Losang is dead. Jacinta is dead. It's like, damn, all the characters from the past 2 seasons we're just likely not going to see again. Maybe in the future, many, many years from now, whatever reunion we're going to see, we could see Ash and Laurent again. Because the two of them, they should have made it back to America, back to the Commonwealth. So that'd be pretty cool. Kind of like a Harley Keener arriving at Tony Stark's funeral. At the very end of the reunion thing, whatever that might be, Daryl sees a little more grown-up Laurent alive and safely in the Commonwealth. That'd be cool to see. And imagine this too. Laurent walks out with Judith and RJ. Like, they actually became friends. Maybe other characters could show up too, like Gracie. What about Coco? Maybe Coco's grown up by this point. But we'll have to see. At the moment, though, it doesn't look like we're ever going to see Ash or Laurent again. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that this is still the same show as the first 2 seasons. Everything's different, besides obviously our main 2 characters. Oh, right, and one thing I wanted to bring up. The fact that they introduced a lesbian love dynamic into this season, into this show. Now, normally, you know how I feel about this stuff being inserted into shows. However, I'm actually more inclined to maybe give this show a pass this time. Give this franchise a pass. Because, for the most part, Walking Dead franchise has stayed relatively woke-free. Pretty woke-free. I think the last time we had a gay character introduced was Aaron. All the way back in season 5. Well, actually, that's not true. Wait. We did have a handful of gay characters in the show. Aaron's gay. Tara was a lesbian. Althea was a lesbian. So we've had a handful. But it was never in your face. And it was minimal, too. And, well, remember, gay people do exist out there, and some of them are bound to survive the apocalypse. So you know what? I'm actually kind of inclined to say maybe they get a pass. Just because they stayed relatively woke-free. So yeah. You know, it's still kind of crazy to think that after all this time, Daryl still has his crossbow. That crossbow has traveled the world as much as Daryl has. Daryl lost his crossbow all the way in Season 1, but then Carol found it and brought it to France for him. And then that crossbow traveled with them all the way to Spain now. You know, it's kind of crazy to think that after all these years, that crossbow, well, the string hasn't broken. But I'm sure if they can weld swords together, they can apply a new string to it, or whatever that part is called for the crossbow. You know, the part that actually flings the arrow, launches the arrow. Man, it still sucked that they killed off Isabel. Imagine if she was here right now with these two. God damn it, that would have been that would have been great. You could have had dilemmas where Daryl had to choose between his best friend Carol and his new love interest Isabel. We could have had complex storytelling like that, but nope. Season 3, new location, new cast, everything prior has to go. And, you know, currently, if I'm not mistaken, the Walking Dead timeline is also quite a mess. Because I think, okay, I'm not gonna bring up Fear the Walking Dead just yet. So I'm mostly gonna talk about the timeline for the spin-offs. It kind of seems like the way the timeline works right now is, so after season 11, it's The Ones Who Live, but the ending to The Ones Who Live bleeds into Daryl Dixon season 1. Like, the ending to The Ones Who Live happens after season 1 of Daryl Dixon began. But just to keep it clean, so season 11 and then The Ones Who Live. By the looks of it, Daryl Dixon seasons 1 to 3, maybe even 1 to 4. And then you watch Dead City, seasons 1 probably to 4. And then, who knows what after that. Unless they do some sort of timeline shenanigans with Daryl Dixon Season 4. I mean, you never know. They made Fear the Walking Dead time jump 7 years. And remember when they just would not stop reminding you it was 7 years since everything else? My god, season 8, they just kept on saying 7 years ago when this happened, 7 years ago when that happened. It's been 7 years of doing this and that. You know what's kind of crazy to think about the first 8 seasons of The Walking Dead? The first 8 seasons take place only about 2 years. I think that may have been retconned recently to have been taking place in the span of 3 years, but still, 2 to 3 years was how long seasons 1 to 8 spanned. First of all, remember, between seasons 2 and 3, they just skipped over the entire winter. So seasons 1 to 8 was only 2 to 3 years, and then we got a time jump of 6 years. So we had more time off screen than we actually had on screen. You know, while I'm enjoying these spin-offs for the most part, despite their flaws with pacing and decisions, what I actually want from the franchise is just something brand new. Now, that's not to say that I want my characters gone. You know, we love these characters. However, it's kind of directionless right now. And these characters, these actors are aging up, and they're going to have to stop at some point. So, once Daryl Dixon, Dead City, both of these spin-offs are complete, and then we get whatever reunion at the very end, give our characters a happy ending, what I would like to see is a brand new story, a brand new original story, kind of like Fear the Walking Dead was. Give me a brand new cast of characters to follow during the initial outbreak, and then see what they did to survive throughout the years. Or you could give us that Clementine show that we've wanted for years. That works too. Give us Clementine on the small screen. That'd be great as well. Although I think there's some sort of rights issues with that in Skybound. So that's probably why they haven't done it yet. But yeah, I gotta admit, people are right online when they say the most interesting part is the initial outbreak. Seeing how people reacted to the outbreak, what they did, how they survived. That is pretty interesting to see. And Fear the Walking Dead kinda did just gloss over it, despite the initial premise of the show being a different group of characters at the initial outbreak. They kind of did gloss over it during the first, especially the first season, but then seasons 2 and 3, yeah. All first 3 seasons took place in what? 2 months? By the time of season 2, the apocalypse was already well established, and we were way past initial outbreak time. Jeez, can you believe Fear the Walking Dead came out 10 years ago already? What month did it come out? Didn't it come out in like October? Oh no, it came out in August. So it came out more than 10 years ago. Man, I remember being so excited for this because it was a spin-off. Our first ever Walking Dead spin-off to go back to the initial outbreak. I was so excited. Damn, it had 10 million viewers for the first episode. And then I see here the next episode with the most view count was the season 4 premiere. And we know how season 4 ended up. Oh no, never mind. Season 2 had 6 million. 6 million? Oh, never mind. But yeah, season 4 actually did have a pretty high viewer count for the first episode. And damn, it's kind of crazy to think season 4 sucked. And then season 5 sucked. Season 6 was okay. I think it was season 6 that had Ginny. But yeah, Fear the Walking Dead, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, man. 10 years ago. In another universe, we got to see Dave Erickson's full vision for Fear the Walking Dead. In another universe, we would not have gotten what we got for seasons 4 all the way to 8. Hell, the only decent season after season 3 was season 6. Season 4 was horrible. Season 5 was even worse. Season 7 was eh. And season 8 was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Remember when they brought back Troy just to kill him off again? Oh, but it is what it is. God damn, they brought back Madison after killing her off, and they brought back Troy after killing him off, just to kill him off again. Anyways, enough Fear of the Walking Dead. Where's Morgan, by the way? You know? All these spin-offs following our main 6 characters, there's a main 7th. Where's Morgan at? We all want Morgan back. We want to see Morgan reunite with Rick just as much as we want to see Daryl reunite with Rick. Man, if they give us a Ones Who Live Season 2, I feel like it's a no-brainer to have Morgan in the show. Because all our other characters are scattered all across the world. Maggie and Negan are in Manhattan. Daryl and Carol are now in Spain. Hey, Morgan's still in the US. I mean, come on. By now, Morgan should have made it back to Alexandria. And by the time he made it back, Rick should have been there. Let's see, Fear of the Walking Dead ended almost 2 years ago. When November comes, it would have been 2 years since the show ended. So the last time we saw Morgan was about 2 years ago. Crazy. Okay, let's talk about Arcane, the series finale, which I really didn't know was the series finale. I didn't know the show was only going to get 2 seasons. Wasn't there news a little while ago about another League of Legends show coming to Netflix? Let me look that up real quick. Was it really 9 months ago that the other one was announced? Wow, I see here on Reddit. I wonder how they will handle it. Piltover and Zaun were the most grounded parts of the universe, and League of Legends universe is a kitchen sink mess of ideas. Well, that's one way to put it. I can't even find the name of this new upcoming show. Oh. I see here the next spin-off is probably going to release sometime between 2027 and 2028. Oh. And that's just a prediction. That's not even anything confirmed. Oh, wasn't it called Noxus? Welcome to Noxus. Huh. That's right. Well, it's gonna be quite a while before that show comes out. Anyways, so, Arcane, Season 2, Episode 9, the series finale. Let me tell you, this episode... Oh, mute. This episode was visually spectacular when it came to the visuals. And I just have to wonder how long it took to animate this. The animation in this episode was really insane, really fluid. What? Fluid and very clean. So I wonder just how long it actually took to animate this. This one episode alone could have taken them like anywhere from 9 months to a year just to finish, I would assume. Because this episode's animation was pretty insane. So we open up with Jinx, depressed, lying on the ground, and immediately I have the question, how is her hair spread out like that? Even if she was dropped onto the floor, her hair would not spread out like that. She had to intentionally put her hair onto the ground like that. And it is, once again, kind of insane to see just how long her hair is. And, well, it's revealed she actually cut her hair for some reason. I guess that was a lot of hair to drag around. And I'm not gonna lie, her new haircut, it looked good. Until she got another haircut later in the episode, which looked bad. Certain angles, her second new haircut looked fine, but when you take a step back to look, I don't know why they changed her hair, just to change her hair again, like 10 minutes later. So Jinx is all depressed, her life is a mess, kind of like mine. And, well, at least she can burn everything down. I kind of can't do that. She goes back to Silco's office and just burns it all to the ground. She loads one of her monkey grenades with her hex core and pulls the pin. She pulls the pin on herself. And then we see her supposed death in slow motion as the bomb rips apart her face. But then, time goes backwards. It's Echo. Echo has that new device that can allow him to go back 4 seconds. He tries to talk to Jinx, but Jinx just keeps on pulling that pin. Keeps on just constantly explodes herself and Echo. Echo has to always be ready to pull that little trigger to go back 4 seconds. He tries his best to talk to Jinx, be like, don't do this, we need to do something about what's coming. Well, this one time, instead of Jinx pulling the pin, she actually just opts to jump off the ledge. Where, once again, Echo needs to go back in time. 4 seconds. Oh, you know what I realized? This episode is the last episode. They didn't even answer what happened to Heimerdinger. I guess we're never gonna get an answer. Just like the way this episode ended, we're never gonna get the answer to what happened to some other characters. Anyways, so yeah, Echo convinces Jink to help, and she doesn't kill herself. So we see the sunrise, and Zaun is at the brink of war. While Jace consults the council, we get small little flashes forward to Vi running, and then we straight up just cut to Vi running in the midst of the war. The big ass battle. So the conflict is already here. There's a big ass battle between Zaun and Piltover. Is this even Zaun? I barely know what's happening anymore. But yeah, there are warships coming ashore. They're firing hex tech weapons at them. You know, obviously we see a ton of Piltover enforcers die. A bunch of no-name background characters. We see Loris, you know, the big guy who we only learned the name of last episode. We see he is handling this big-ass cannon firing at the ships. Mbessa shows up. Caitlyn tries to snipe her, but damn, Mbessa's tough. She is tough as hell. She now has these, like, green little, pendants? Green pendants that can absorb the Hex Tech devices, the Hex Tech weapons, as long as they're close enough. So, yeah. She has these green little pendants that can protect her from the Hex Tech weapons. So they bring on this ginormous beast-looking thing to drag this ball, which supposedly has Victor in it. And that's their goal, that's their target. If they destroy that thing, if they kill Victor, then this whole thing should be over. And, well, during the fight, Loris actually gets killed. Kinda sad. He wasn't a big character, plot-wise, he was a huge character. This dude is enormous, but, you know, he was a gentle giant. He was a nice guy for the very little scenes that we saw of him. Hell, I didn't even learn his name until, like, an episode or two ago. But, yeah, it's pretty sad to see Loris get killed. So, they fight. They throw gas grenades of what looks like the Gray. Remember when the Gray was established a couple episodes into the season? The toxic fumes that get filtered through the airway systems. Kinda like New York City. So, during the conflict, Piltover, they actually get overpowered. Someone's holding a gun to Caitlyn's head, and who is it? It's actually Maddie. I did not see that coming. The betrayal, too. Maddie chose Mbessa to side with. Damn. Remember, Caitlyn and Maddie had something between them while Vi was gone. Last episode, Caitlyn even mentioned that to Vi, but she didn't care. She just wanted to lick her lips, and I'm not talking about the one on her face. Well, right as Maddie was about to execute Caitlyn, she gets protected by this golden barrier summoned by Mel, because remember, she has mage powers. And then the bullet ricocheted and shot and shot Maddie straight in the head. Reminded me of the scene in the first Iron Man movie when he was escaping the cave and that guy got up close to shoot him in the head, which just bounced back to shoot him in the head. Well, it looks like Piltover is about to lose, but then hey, look at that, reinforcements arrived. Jinx shows up in some sort of aircraft, and so does Echo. Not only Echo, but two other no-name characters on their Green Goblin hoverboards. You know, I always like seeing stuff like this. Whenever you have war or conflicts in these, like, shows and movies, I always like seeing a third party show up to help. Aid that neither side saw coming. It's almost like, you know, this isn't really their conflict, but in a way it is. So that's why these third party groups are joining in. So we see Savika join in. And it almost seems like Jinx showing up kind of turns the tides. Well, they're able to launch what looks like a big cargo container straight towards that container thing that should have had Victor in it, but surprise, surprise, he's not in there. How has Giratina not shined yet? If I knew the answer, I would tell you. I would very much like for this to be over. So elsewhere, Jace is dealing with his Hex core, like the straight up source, and then a god version of Victor shows up. He cuts a really strange shaped hole in the wall just to get in. Like he cut it in the shape of an arrow, like an actual mouse shaped arrow. I don't know why he cut it like that. Why didn't you just cut a clean unified door for yourself, but whatever. Who after Giratina is left? There's still Cresselia, Tornadus, Thunderous, and Landorus. So if they take as long as this is, we are still gonna be here for a while. Anyway, so... oh no, reinforcements for the Noxians showed up. The Sentinel droid things of Victor, they show up, and just by a touch, they're able to gain control of anyone who is, well, a person. Can I please hunt the new Megas? Well, let's finish this set of hunts first, and then we'll decide what to hunt after. So the soldiers create a little arena for Mel and Caitlyn to deal with Ambessa. God damn, I would not want to mess with Ambessa. This is one powerful lady. And of course, the now reprogrammed Warwick shows up. Vander is no longer in there. Mega Dragonite, Victory Bell, Halucha, Malamar, Kylo starters. You forgot Raichu. So now there's this fight. Warwick is attacking the ship that Jinx is in, so both Vi and Echo go and assist. But eventually they crash into this, like the capital. They crash right into the tower that is at the center of Piltover. And I'm not trying to say anything about crashing into towers. So Jace and Victor have a discussion about why destroy Hex Core and why we should destroy Hex Core. But then obviously that discussion turns into a fight as well. Alright, Ambessa fighting Caitlyn. Damn, that blade got pretty close to her eye. But then she notices that the force field that Mel is creating to protect Caitlyn is kind of being weakened by those green little pendants that Ambessa has on her arms. So Caitlyn takes the hit to the eye just to cut off the pendants protecting Ambessa. So now Mel can use the Black Rose to capture her mother, where that sorceress can do whatever she wanted to do to her. But then Mel goes in to stop the sorceress, whoever she is. Mel just said, "I see who you really are, deceiver," and then it's never revealed who she really is. Well, in the process, Ambessa gets killed, and she's dead. While Jinx and Vi are fighting Warwick, Victor and Jace are ascending very, very high up in their conflict. And then it turns out that they're directly below where Vi and Jinx are. So they just show up. In fact, they fly all the way to the roof. Very high up. This also caused some sort of like zero gravity setting now. So now they fight just floating midair. Well, Jace is about to be consumed by Victor, as well as everyone else. So there are these lights that come down, attaching themselves to everyone who is not yet blessed by Victor's power. For some reason, it doesn't hit Echo. I guess he just forgot about Echo. So Jace is able to see in the mind of Victor, and it just looks like Cerebro. Victor has control of everyone's mind in order to stop conflict, stop wars, peace. Well, at least it's better than Ultron's version of peace. Yeah, this thing really just looks like Cerebro. It looks like Cerebro mixed with that one Rainbow Road level in Mario Kart 8. The one where you can see, where you can look down and see the town. I know you know which one I'm talking about. So everyone is about to be consumed by Victor's light. And the way those light lines go towards everyone's head, you know what that reminded me of? Reminded me of Futurama. Remember that? Where everyone was like, embrace the tentacles. Alright, so Echo, being the one that Victor did not go after for some reason, Echo's able to really quickly on his hoverboard try to launch a sneak attack. But all of his droids are in the way. Eventually they do get a hold and stop Echo. Every now and then when they stopped Echo, they would make him have to go back in time 4 seconds. But this one time, more than 4 seconds has passed, so he needs to go past the danger zone, which is beyond 4 seconds. What's good? I'm alright. You know, for a split second, I forgot about the interview I have tomorrow. Now I have to worry about that again. So, let's see. Echo went back far enough to where he can throw that little gizmo of his straight at Victor. And because that's a bootleg version of a hex core created in a different timeline, a pretty unstable hex core, It blows up literally in Victor's face, breaking off some of his new face. You caught almost every every legendary shiny? In this challenge, yes. But Giratina is being stubborn. Anyways, so that thing blowing up in Victor's face is able to release Jace from his grip, from his hold. So now, Jace is able to show Victor the future that he saw. The dystopian future that was caused by Hex Tech. And it's revealed that white cloaked figure when Jace was in the future was an older version of Victor, who saw the errors of his ways. His version of peace is not the way to go. In a world free of suffering, there is no dreams left. Well, I'm sure Morpheus, Dream of the Endless, would be furious at Victor, but wrong continuity there. And it's also revealed, I completely forgot about the storyline in Season 1. Season 1, Jace's backstory, when he and his mom were lost in a blizzard at the brink of death, this white cloaked figure, I think it was white, actually led them to safety, and then he even gave Victor a little gem thing. I think that was Victor. I think they're now saying that was future Victor guiding Jace on a path that would stop the Hex Tech from causing a dystopian future. Ah, yes, it's all coming together. So Victor sees the error of his ways and opts to stop all of this, stop his Cerebro shenanigans. But Jace offers to stop it together. He hands Victor that thing that he handed to Jace, that stone thing, and then together they stop the Hex Tech. And then it straight up consumes the two of them. Victor and Jace both get absorbed into this rock thing, and then even the rock thing itself vanishes. So we have no idea what happened to these two, and we never will. So all of these Sentinel droid things that Victor was controlling, they all shut down. Everyone who was getting their minds controlled is freed. And Bessa's dead. Well, looks like the battle is won. Vi and Jinx, well, they're stuck inside the building, which certain parts are collapsing. Vi is about to grieve over Vander again, but turns out Warwick's not dead. So Jinx tackles Warwick, but then she gets knocked off the edge. But Vi can't hold them both, or she'll die as well, because the platform's about to fall due to all their weight. So Jinx sacrifices herself. She punches out the hex core inside of Vi's gauntlet so that it wouldn't function anymore and force her to let them go and fall to their deaths. And because this is the end, it's assumed both Jinx and Warwick are now dead. So there's a lot of unanswered fates for a bunch of our characters. What happened to Heimerdinger? Unknown. What happened to Jason Victor? Unknown. What happened to Jinx and Warwick? Unknown. But that one you can presume they died from the fall. Oh, wait, I guess I missed this. I guess I missed this. Jinx actually pulls out her grenade and then that goes off. So yes, they are dead. My bad. I guess I missed that part when watching. So it's just Jace and Victor, who we don't know the fates of. We can also presume they're dead, I guess. So, time has passed. The citizens of Piltover are returning to their home, and they put small little pieces of paper in in a big-ass bowl, and they light it on fire to honor all the souls lost during the conflict. So the ending, we get a narration from Caitlin about this conflict in history, in their history. We also see Caitlin now wearing an eye patch, and hilariously enough, a turtleneck, going over her Kiraman family archives. And then she huddles up with Vi, so at least they got their happy ending. And then we see this airship, a literal airship, fly off into the distance, and well, the end flashes. I didn't know this was it. I didn't know there wasn't going to be a third season. Okay, so we're done with Arcane. What the hell happened here? I just got recommended. It turns out this happened like 2 months ago. Paul Rudd had a lot of burns on his face. I didn't know about that. What happened here? And then I see online it's like he spilled coffee on his face. As long as he's okay. When new game? When Legend ZA comes out. I want to move on to something new as well, but you know, I already started this shiny hunting challenge. I'm gonna finish it, regardless of how long it takes. Okay, so we have one more to talk about. Eyes of Wakanda, the 4th and final episode. This one was a pretty big episode. Hold on, I need to plug in my 3DS. Give me a second. Why can't this Giratina just be blue? It's been so long. Okay, let me just plug this in. Oh, not a moment. Just in time. The moment I pulled this away, this light right here was starting to flash. So this episode of Eyes of Wakanda did connect to the MCU. For the first 3 episodes, it was pretty standalone, pretty optional to watch. You know, you don't need to watch this show to understand really anything in the MCU. And this episode, this last episode definitely is optional as well. However, it can add a little bit of context. Not like that context is important. So let me look up. What year did this take place in? It was in 18 something. So episode 4 takes place around 1896 AD. So this is roughly well, this is still over 2,000 years before our present. And it is now a couple centuries after anything that happened in the first 3 episodes. Centuries ago, the first 3 episodes happened. So this episode, we meet our characters Kuda and Prince Teferi. At first, I thought Kuda was Basha from the last episode, because I think their voices sounded the exact same. But no, this is a different character who sounds a lot like Basha. So, Prince Teferi is the son of Wakandan royalty. So, could this be T'Challa's ancestor from not even centuries, millenniums ago? Possibly. So, they are here to retrieve another vibranium artifact from Adwa. It says here Adwa. During a battle. Well, they're about to make a retreat, but then Teferi, he wants to go ahead and pick up the weapon to not return home empty-handed. So, disobeying the orders of Kuda, he goes in himself and retrieves the artifact. And that artifact is the vibranium axe that we see in the first Black Panther movie. The one that Killmonger stole from that museum exhibit with Ulysses Claw's help. So it's the same axe in that movie. Okay, so they're driving back to Wakanda in one of their Wakandan vehicles, and then this phasing in and out figure appears. At first I thought maybe it's a variant of Ghost, a time variant, ancestor, or whatever. Not really. So, their vehicle gets attacked. And then whoever this person is reveals themselves. And it seems like it's not matching right. Because this character who attacked the vehicle, her suit is very techy, very future techy, not belonging in this time period. She reveals that she came here from the future to make history right. It's because they stole that axe that changed the course of history. Since they took that axe, it never wound up in that museum, and it never ended up in Killmonger's hands. And then the events of Black Panther never happened. The issue with the events of Black Panther never happening is because by the end of that movie, T'Challa announces to the world Wakanda's existence and even joins nations of the world and whatever. So, without that axe, no Killmonger finding it, no conflict in the Black Panther movie, no Wakanda united with the rest of the world. And because of that, way, way down in the future, unspecified when, a horde from the stars shows up and overpowers the entire world. All of the other nations in the world. So when that horde eventually finds its way to Wakanda, even Wakanda was not strong enough. Maybe if Wakanda was united with the rest of the world's forces, they could have banded together to fight off this horde from space. But because that wasn't the case, not only did it spell the end of Wakanda, it spelled the end for the entire world. At first I was thinking, a horde, an army from space, is this Infinity War? But no, it's not. This is beyond Infinity War. This is way further in the future. This could even be further down from the 2050 storm we saw at the Rocks Cart in Loki. It could even be beyond, 2077 on Lamentus 1? Though that's unrelated. So, this person from the future, the current and last Queen of Wakanda, came back in time through quantum technology in order to find the anomaly that started this. So, she traveled back in time, way back in time, to even glimpses in the first 3 episodes. She went back to the first episode's events where she saw Noni retrieve that Wakandan artifact from the lion. She saw in episode 2 Memnon kill Achilles. She saw in episode 3 Basha and the dragon statue. And now in episode 4, she was able to identify the anomaly that caused this outcome of the future. It was Tafari and Kuda retrieving the axe, preventing it from ever ending up in Killmonger's hands. So she needs to go back and warn them. She warns them, you need to put that back. That has to go back in order for Wakanda to survive in the future. But the current queen only has so much time. Well, she gets teleported back to her present day, so the future, where the horde breaks into their lab and then they get overpowered. They can only hope that the past, their ancestors, did right and return the axe back to where they found it. So Kuda and Tafari argue back and forth like they should return it, should they not return it. Eventually, Tafari is able to convince Kuda to put it back. I kind of thought Kuda might have been deceiving Tafari, like, you're right, we have to put this back. Give me the axe. Psych! I'm gonna bring this back to Wakanda. That is our mission. So they actually go back and put it back where they found it. Okay, good for them. In the future, not only the last Black Panther, the Queen, not only is she alive, there's only a handful of Dora Milaje left who's alive. But these alien hordes break in, one by one they take out each of the Dora Milaje to where the Queen is the last person standing. And just as she's about to get killed, defending the quantum portal, I guess, she screams Wakanda Forever 3 times, and then it cuts to white, not knowing what her fate is. In the past, they actually put back the artifact, the axe, and then they lie to their superiors, the king and queen of Wakanda, Tafari's parents, being like, we tried our best to retrieve the artifact. However, we are confident that it was destroyed during the conflict. They don't know if what they did worked or not, If by doing this, if it really preserved the future of Wakanda. They don't know. But we get a cut forward, and we see that, yes, it did. Because we get a cut forward where Eric Stevens is indeed standing in that museum looking over the axe. So it's kind of crazy to think that in the main MCU timeline, the Sacred Timeline, there was some time travel shenanigans all the way back in 1896 AD. Events that changed the past that would affect Wakanda in present day. Crazy to think that the future Queen of Wakanda time traveled back in order to allow events to happen during the Black Panther movie. So now, when rewatching the first Black Panther movie, whenever we see Killmonger steal that Wakandan axe, we have to remind ourselves, that was never meant to be there. Originally, that wasn't going to be there. But because of altering the past, that is there now. So a couple things to mention about this episode to break down plot-wise. So, the future Black Panther, the last Black Panther, wait a second. So I watched the episode and I didn't hear anything about where she was in the future, how far in the future. Here on Wikipedia, it says she's the last Black Panther from 500 years in the future. That doesn't line up. Because 500 years is certainly not when the first Black Panther movie takes place. 500 years later from this episode is not when Black Panther happens, to where T'Challa unites with the rest of the world. Whatever. So yeah, if this is the last Black Panther, the last, royal family member, this might be the future descendant of T'Challa. Not just T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, but also his son, who is also named T'Challa. The son he had with Nokia. And, well, we know time travel rules established in the MCU. The future queen going back to change the past outcomes would not change her present. Her reality would still be attacked by this horde from space, where Wakanda would still be destroyed. If anything, the Sacred Timeline is a branch from this one. The Sacred Timeline would have branched off from that. Well, that timeline was destroyed anyways, so any Kang variant to come out of that timeline would have not mattered anyways. And you remember, this was before Loki changed the TVA. At this point, the TVA would still have been pruning instead of just being on watch for Kang variants. So yeah. Pretty cool. And this isn't exactly a time loop kind of thing. It's not exactly a time loop like we saw in Spider-Man. No, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Alright, next time I will have a film to discuss. Granted, assuming I watch it in time. I was gonna watch it today, but yeah, that didn't happen. Well, that's all I have to talk about today. You know, I don't think the Galaxy 1 and 2 bundle is going to have a Switch 2 version. You can play it on Switch 2, and it's going to be like 4K resolution. Okay, it says here, both games feature enhanced resolution, 1080p on Nintendo Switch, and 4K on Switch 2 with a free update. But I don't think they're gonna release a Switch 2 version. Like with the red case that says Switch 2 and everything. So this is, by all means, a Switch 1 game that will just have an enhanced version on Switch 2. I'm down for it. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Y'all punk asses down in America complaining about $80 games now. You wanna know how much this shit costs up here in Canada? It says here, $99.99. $100 for this game bundle. That's $50 for each of these games. $50 for Mario Galaxy 1, a game I already bought a second time on Switch 1. I get to buy it again. And no, I will not buy the digital version. Even though it's more expensive, physical all the way. $100 just to buy a Switch 1 game I already have. And then $50 of that 100 will go to a port of a 15-year-old game. I don't know what has happened to Nintendo. Everyone online is saying how Nintendo is super greedy now. This world is on fire. Okay, so I just looked it up. I guess by all technicalities, it might be a little bit cheaper to buy games in Canada. Because I'm looking right now. $80 USD converted to Canadian is $110. And that's before tax. So up here in Canada, the game is $100, $99.99, so $100. And then when you factor in tax, that's $113, if I'm not mistaken. So up here in Canada, one game after tax is just $3 more than the conversion. $80 USD to Canadian is 110. Up here in Canada, you buy a game after tax, it would be 113, so $3 extra. Because, let's do it real quick. So that 110... that 110 equivalent to $80 USD. 110 plus tax... 124. So, I guess it's a teensy bit cheaper. Okay, so hold on. 100. Okay, so 100 Canadian dollars converted to US dollar is 72.71. So like 73 bucks. So technically, it's a little bit cheaper to buy it in Canada conversion-wise. Anything for the cope, right? I still find it rather stupid. If both of these countries are side by side, we both use the dollar currency, why aren't they the same? Right? What's the point of having both of our countries side by side and having the currency slightly different? What's the point of that? I can understand the money being different. Like up here, we have a Canadian coin. Down there, you guys have Canadian... What? Down there, you have dollar bills. I can get the actual physical money being different, but why the currency difference? Like, why can't I buy something for 10 bucks here, also be 10 bucks down there, and vice versa? I buy a game for $80 in the US. Why can't it just be $80 Canadian up here as well? Like, what's the point? Why does there need to be a difference? Doesn't that just add more headache to businesses near the border that take both kind of currencies? I don't know. Unless the businesses near the border are like, yep, that's $20. You can pay 20 either Canadian or US. There is no difference. But that's kind of stupid, I guess. Because you can pay one version and that technically means less money for the business. And less spent by the consumer. But then again, if they didn't do that, then they would have to pull out the calculator, Google, okay, $20. How would you like to pay? Oh no, that's $20 Canadian. So let me see how much that would be if you're paying American bills. Oh no, I find it stupid. Like, why must there be a difference? you just hate when you get unskippable ads that are 15 seconds long? I swear to God, this world is on the brink of collapse. The internet, the industries, everything. Alright, this is gonna be the last encounter. No shinies tonight, goodbye.